What's up, guys? Another day here at Southside Boy Style. Here today, probably going to help you out on another little code that may come up on your, I would say, between 2008 to 2012 Chevy Impala. You guys all know this Chevy Impala of ours. If you look back on recent videos, you'll see I have a fixed there for airbag light under the seat, and you'll see I did the paint job on the door. I actually changed the door and put on a new door and painted it. So having a little issue with this one today, which not many issues with these cars. Remember, you guys all know I like these cars. So the little issue this one is having today is it's having the wheel sensor light come on. So I ran the scanner, and I'm going to show you through the memory. I already did the scan. I'm going to show you the code that came up in the scan tool, so you guys can see what the code number is, and I'll also put it up in the window right here, the code, and I'm going to show you on the actual scanner so you guys can see it and know it. So before I show you the code, I'm just going to explain to you, sometimes when you get a code up, you always automatically think if it's anything to do with wheel sensor, or if you look at your dashboard and you see you got ABS light on, traction control light on, there's like 2 or 3 lights that come on indicating you possibly got a bad wheel bearing or a messed up speed sensor, which is the wire going into the axle, more or less. Sometimes what happens is it's not necessarily the wheel bearing, because I find with these cars in particular, if you'll hear a rough sound if you have a faulty wheel bearing. You'll hear the roughness when you make a turn. You'll hear it make noises. But this particular car here now, it's not making any sounds and it's not making any noises. So I'm led to believe that possibly it could be just dirt on the sensor. Well, what sometimes happens is there's cogs inside that the sensor senses. So the cogs spin around and the sensor picks up on the cogs, and that's what keeps everything in rotation. If there's any movement in those cogs, so for example, if your wheel bearing is bad, what happens is as the cog is spinning, you might get a little bit of wobble, wiggle, whatever you might want to call it. And the sensor detects because it misses on that, I call them little teeth. So the sensor will miss on a teeth, and that's what triggers a code, ABS, traction control, etc. When the code is initially initiated, these are big words for me, guys, come on. When the code is initially initiated, what happens is the car kind of acts a little bit funny when the code first comes on. So, you know, it is an issue. So 50% of the time, it's just the sensor, the wire and the sensor that connects to the shaft. And then 50% of the time, it's a messed up wheel bearing, and obviously you got to change it. But I'm going to inspect this sensor. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to inspect the sensor. I'm going to test it, drive it, see what happens, see if the code comes back on. If I test the sensor and I check the sensor, clean it, make sure everything's proper inside, and the code still comes on, it's going to mean my wheel bearing is bad. Now, I'm going to jack up the car. I'm going to move the tire, see if I get any slop. I call it slop, okay? If I get any movement in the tire, that's going to indicate to me it's a bad wheel bearing as well. So just letting you guys know, when you see these big scary codes come up and you got ABS light on, traction control light on, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is a wheel bearing. Not always is that the case. So we're going to find out here today if that's the case for this car or not. So I've already cleared the code. I know it's the front left wheel bearing, so it's going to be this one right here. It's going to be the issue. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to jack it up, take the tire off, and I'm going to look at the speed sensor, check it all out, clean it up, and see what happens. Had to put the heavy duty one on. Okay, So we're in the air. First thing I'm going to do is check. I got no movement this way, and just like I expected, I have no movement the other way. So now we're going to take off the tire. I'm going to inspect it. I already had that nut loosened. You guys just didn't see that part. Sometimes you get your nut stuck in the inside the socket. Just manually screw it back on a little bit. Just wiggle it and you'll get it off. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys now. I'm going to show you guys now the ABS wire, which is this little guy. Comes in, runs down here, and it connects right here. I don't know if you can see that. Sometimes this camera don't like to focus on things, but he's right here. That's where he connects. So I'm going to inspect that, and then the wire goes inside. Inside here is where I was telling you about the teeth, and that's where that wire goes. I'm going to inspect all this, and if I find anything wrong, I'm going to tell you guys. When the nut starts to wear, that's what causes the socket to stick onto them. Oh, yeah. Right? When the nuts are new, that don't happen. Now guys, always torque your tire nuts, and I'm going to show you right now. Always torque it. Now as you guys know, I don't give you the torque specs for your tires because it can vary from state to state or province to province, country to country. So I don't give our specs here where I live. So you guys just go on Google, search up your specs on what to set your torque wrench at, and you can do it that way. And you guys, as you know, when you hear the click, you know you're at your torque specs. So what I might do, guys, I might actually take you guys with me, and I'm going to take the car just for a quick little ride to see if the light comes on. Sometimes if it keeps coming back on, then you got to buy a new sensor, which is only 20-30 bucks, and it comes with the wire. You just click it into the main harness. But I'm just going to take it for a quick little drive, and I'm going to bring you guys with me. All right, guys, so you can see there's no light on now. My check engine light is on, and that's the evaporative control emission system. So which means it's either the gas cap or the filler tube gasket, which is never a big issue. Most every car on the planet has it. So sorry guys, I just got to adjust this seat. I don't drive this car, so it's not set for me. So we're going to take her for a little cruise, and we're going to see if that light comes on again. And if you see me put the camera down, well, you never know when the po-po could be hanging around. I don't want to get caught during May 24 weekend with a camera up in my hands as I'm driving, because that's what they're looking for. But who says I'm driving, right? Maybe this is all just make-believe. But I'm not going very far. I'm just going around right next to my house to see if the light's going to come on. So far, so good. And I think if that light was to have come on, I think that light would have come on by now. So remember guys, it will be the ABS light and the traction control light and the brake light would come on at the same time. So you would have 3 lights coming on the right side, this down right here in that dash area. I hear a little brake squeak. I think there's grease inside the brakes. There's a lot of dust and dirt where I live. So far so good guys, so far so good. There's no lights on. Put up some windows so you guys can hear me, but I can't put them all the way up because I don't want to get so hot. I'm too cheap to use the AC. With the cost of fuel now, here you can see it's like $2.20, $2.25 a liter. Here in Canada, gas prices are crazy. Where I live in Newfoundland, yesterday it was like $2.32 a liter. It dropped down to that $2.21 today, but it's quite expensive. And we're still light free. We have no lights. Just the engine light, and again, that's the evap control emission system, which nobody really cares about because it happens to most all these cars all the time. So I'm going to turn around up right here, and we know there's no lights on, so we're all good there. I'm trying to keep the camera next to the screen. So you guys can see if the light comes on. Going over this bumpy road here a little bit. Now we're gonna head back on. So guys, look, there's no lights. I think we've conquered it. I think we've conquered the problem. Look at my view. I never show you guys this. This is where I live. I live on a little island, only a little over 500,000 people. And this is my little town, population of just under 1,000 people live here, so 900 and something people. And as you can see, we have an island out in the middle. And it's a pretty nice place. It's a well kept up town. It's a good community here. And yeah, so let's look at the light again. I think, guys, we've got it fixed. I think we're not going to have any more problems with that. So like I said, I just took apart the connection, and I showed you guys after what I did. I cleaned up the connection inside, and I put dielectric grease inside of it to keep it, you know, sensible, I guess. Plugged it all back in, and again, like I said, guys, I checked the tire. There was no play, there was no sound, everything was fine, which indicated to me that it would be a problem with the wheel bearing or anything, right? Sorry guys, I gotta roll the windows down. It's so hot here. We got a really slow person ahead of us. Really slow, really slow. Look guys, look at the speed, really slow. But these little quiet, sleepy little towns, that's the way it is. Nobody's in a hurry to get anywhere, really. Not like me, I'm always in a hurry. Well, come on, let's drive here now. You're 20 kilometers under the speed. Speed her up, buddy. Get out of the way. I'm just joking, guys. I don't mind. Not at all. So I'm going to keep it down on the gauges because, you know. Well, there you go, guys. I'm back to my home now, and I think we have it. I think everything is fine. This issue many times where it hasn't been the wheel bearing, it's just a sensor needed to be cleaned up and put back together, right? And so that costs $0, so that means it will cost you $0. But always make sure when you first jack up your car, take your hands and see if there's any play up and down on your tire, or up and down or side to side. If you're not getting any play anywhere, chances are it's dirt or just corrosion in a sensor. Take it apart, clean it up, put some dielectric grease back in it, put it together. There you go. So thanks a lot, guys, and please give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.
Cut.